Hello, teammates, and welcome to The Goal Diggers, a program where we discuss stories of leadership and motivation with sports serving as a metaphor dedicated to daily grinders, corporate athletes, and go-getters. This is the moment how Don digging in with my co-hosts, Relisa Agustin, Robbie De Vera, and Dr. Bina D, and we are your resident Goal Diggers. So in the previous episode, we had a conversation with the family of one of the winningest coaches in Philippine basketball, Coach Jong Muchico, who, together with his wife, Kathy, and their three children, Johan, Jared, and Natasha, shared with us what they've learned from their family journey so far. And here are their three tips. First is the value of exposure and preparation. This has helped the Wichicos, particularly their children, figure out what direction they want to take in their lives as they try out different activities and find what works for them and what doesn't. Second is the value of knowing the kids and collaborating with them. This has allowed Kathy and Coach Jong to have a healthy communication and relationship with their children, and it gives them the confidence to have their kids make their own decisions. And third is the value of sports, which has a positive effect in the Wichico family because it serves as a platform to learn and practice different values like handling pressure and stress. And it also teaches you that no matter the result or achievement, it's important to stay humble. So not only parents, but anyone working with kids can learn from the practical advice the Wichicos have shared on how to raise a champion. And today we're digging into the journey of another family that's well known, especially in the badminton scene. But before we delve into that, let's hear from the rest of our fellow goal diggers, Doc Shobes, Relly, and Robbie. What else can our teammates expect from this episode?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So we're in here for another episode of Raising a Champion. I can't wait to hear again another parenting journey we have from our guest. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Doc Shobes. Hi, guys. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Raising a Champion, brought to you by us, the Gold Diggers. Tonight, we have with us a family who has, through the years, excelled and have become icons in the sport of Philippine badminton. Stick around and listen to their story on how they became not only champions of the sport, but also how they cemented themselves as a household name in the industry. Robbie, who do we have for our viewers tonight?
Thanks, Rels. Hey, teammates. We're excited to have you on the program again. With special thanks, of course, to Milo and most especially to our guests. They're fellow gold diggers and a powerhouse name in badminton. So this evening, we are very privileged to have our good friends, Coach Nelson, Coach Kennie, and Coach Vic Asuncion. So badminton royalty right there, right here on the program. So please stay tuned as we dig into their respective parenting stories. Let's formally welcome them on board, Sim.
Thanks, guys. So today we have the privilege to dig into the journey of a family of Philippine badminton icons. We have with us Coach Nelson, who found his lifelong passion in the sport and even had the chance to train in China, which prepared him to share that same passion and deep knowledge with thousands who have gone through his programs. And he is the founding head coach of the Valle Verde Badminton Youth Club, whose teams often represented the country internationally and brought home multiple medals. He was at the forefront of the badminton boom in the country, growing the sport and bringing it closer to the people. And it's no surprise that his own children got into the sport and made their mark with his guidance. Together with him today are two of them, Coach Kennie and Coach Kennevic, each of whom have been the top players in the country and were a force to be reckoned with, especially when they played together in the mixed doubles. They were the first Filipinos to qualify in the World Championships, and they reached 11th in the world rankings, the highest for any Filipino in the mixed doubles. As a family, they run the Asuncion Badminton Center, staying true to their objective of producing Filipino badminton champions. It's such an honor to have them with us today, so let's all welcome Coach Nelson, Coach Kennie, and Coach Vic. Hi, everyone.
Good evening. I'm Coach Nelson Asuncion. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Coach Kennie, and thank you for having us. It's a privilege for us to share our family stories, and of course, we've also been watching the other families that you've featured, and I think it's fun to watch each other comparing notes, learning a thing or two from each other.
Hi everyone, I'm Coach Vic. We are excited to share all the experiences we had, and of course, together with all the families that you featured, hopefully we'll be able to help share a little or two things for you guys.
So we're very privileged to have you here. You guys are badminton legends. But to get the ball rolling, we'd like to know, what have you guys been up to lately, Coach Nelson?
During this pandemic, we are doing the online training because face to face is not allowed yet. So we are concentrate more on online training.
How about you, Coach Kenny?
Well, yes, as what Coach Nelson had mentioned, we are busy doing the online trainings. There was a few months wherein badminton was allowed to continue. So at that time, we had, a few face-to-face classes each week, wherein we tried to keep the number of students to a very small group, and we were very, very careful to, follow all protocols. But since we are back to, to that situation again, we are focusing on our online coaching. And I, on my part, have my own YouTube channel and continue to do, to do training online, helping others the best way I can.
For me, I've been busy with my family. I had a newborn, and then also we had online classes too. But we're lucky enough here, we have a little bit of face to face. So that's why we were more into the court and a little bit of online.
Coach Vic, you're currently in San Diego, right? And actually, Coach Nelson is also there with you, visiting since you guys had your firstborn. But how is it? How long have you been staying there, and how is it like being away from the family, being out of the Philippines?
Well, it's really hard right now because usually we go home at least once a year to visit the family, and we really missed everybody. We've been here for almost 2 years. So we've been really fortunate enough that with the pandemic, we had a baby. So we were quite busy with the baby, taking care of him. And then eventually, of course, my dad came over. He wants to see our firstborn also. And then, so we're quite busy with the baby right now, growing up.
So, speaking of the pandemic, I'm just curious though, were there like specific challenges or difficulties that you all or each of you had to face, and how did you actually deal with them or with it?
Well, kasi we didn't know naman that it was going to last this long. At the beginning, it was like supposed to be 2 months, and then it eventually, just kept on extending and extending. Us as a family, we, like, when my dad was here with us, what we do is we try to keep ourselves physically, fit. So my son and I would go see my dad, and we make him yaya to do some yoga. We'll just a bit of movement so that you're not always just staring at the walls or thinking too much. We try to keep ourselves active. Whatever we could do with the space that we have, we did the best we can. So we tried to keep fit. And then with regards to our players and athletes, that's what we try to also tell them, that to focus on making themselves better in whatever aspect that they could, whether it's in academics. Maybe now is the time for them to catch up with their academics because they're home most of the time, or it's not just all sports. It's trying to be a well-rounded person, trying to cover the things that maybe you've neglected at some point. So I think that's how we did it as a family. We try to encourage each other with positivity. When we're feeling low, when we're feeling down, we would cheer each other up, call each other up, talk about many different things, and actually planning for the future.
Right. What about you, Coach Vic? With the newborn and all, what is it like there in the San Diego?
Well, we've been really staying in the house most of the time, and then meet up a few families lang, a family friend lang. And then most of the time, that's what we do. And then we still also have the same thing with Coach Kenny, online classes. And then we also have face-to-face, so that's the fortunate enough. But eventually, the kids also get bored, diba? When you're training and then there's no tournament, yun yung scenario namin for now. They're getting a little bored. So we try to encourage them to improve on every single detail that they have, so that by the time there's tournament, they're better already.
And finally, Coach Nelson.
Right now, since there is no much face-to-face training, so I'm only staying at home and let Kenny and Kennevic do continue promoting badminton. So I'm just inside the condo because since it's above 60, so it's not allowed to go out. So I stay home most of the time.
Right. So I really like it, no? Parang we all have adapted na talaga with it when it came to the pandemic. Parang we knew that we have to bring in online, and it seems to be so far working, no? It just so happened like nagkaroon ulit ng setback with the second wave, but things seem to be looking good, no? For both Coach Kenny and Kennevic.
Speaking of looking good, what looks great is their careers as badminton players. So let's bring the audience up to speed on how you guys developed as athletes. Can we tell them about your respective sports journeys? Maybe let's start with Coach Nelson.
Okay. Actually, I started badminton very late. I was 17 years old, and during that time, everything is black and white, and our training is at night only. Tournaments are held only at night. And then I play for about 4 or 5 years. Then I stopped for more than 8 years, not so actively, and then come back again after 8 years. And then during that time, I already have Vic and Kenny. So whenever I play, I join tournament. They always come with me along, and sometimes even in abroad tournament, especially Kenny is always with us. Since that time, because that time he has the conversion, so parang hindi pwede siya maiwanan sa bahay. So parati kasama namin sa trip namin. So and also si Vic, since si Vic so small pa, bata pa siya. And then later on, tsaka nag-join siya sa amin sa training sa Valley Verde. That's how we started playing badminton. So at that time, during the Valley Verde time, I start coaching Valley Verde kids. And then since maliit pa sila, Vic and Kenny, so hindi sila kasama dun sa training. But they always come along with me, and nasa tabi lang sila parati watching. And then parang I think from that time na-start na sila na gustuhan yung badminton. So little by little they start to play by themselves. But I did not coach them. I just let them do whatever they want to, play if they want to. So until such time I saw na talagang may hilig na sila, that's when I start coaching them. See? Because this is how I experience in coaching. Now we let our kids to find their interest in whatever they want to play, to join or interested. We just let them go. And then when we see that they are serious, then that's the time we go in. Let them enjoy, and then we start in serious when they are prepared now.
That's great, Coach. No, so again, all of this learnings coming from your own experience as a badminton player, you falling in love with the game a little later in your life, and then having that short pause, but then finding it again, and developing your passion so much so that you've made it to the national team, and then even at one point coaching also the national team. Let's move on over to Coach Kenny. Coach Kenny and Coach Vic, let's talk about your respective badminton journeys. Can you please share a little bit about that?
Well, for me, I was very, very exposed with the sport. Just like what my dad said, I would tag along because I was very sickly at that time. So they wouldn't leave me wherever they would go. I'd be there. So when my dad went out for tournaments, he went on for SEA Games in Singapore. I was there. And although I don't remember clearly what was happening on court, I just remember playing up on, on the bleachers. But then I think the exposure really made, somehow it kind of planted, a seed at the back of my head. And I mean, it just came so natural that I fell in love with the sport. And, ever since, just never stopped loving the sport.
Of course, hindi mo pa nasabi, but of course, made it so much so that, made it very well, so much so that you represented the country, not just in the singles, but also in the doubles. So maybe we can also inquire with Coach Vic. Coach Vic, kamusta yung ating sports journey? Tell us what your journey was about.
Well, for me, I came in the last baby of dad, and then so by the time I came out, he was already coaching. So I was only one of the kids lang, as in one lang ako literally, and they're all older. So eventually, I was just always in the squash court playing, hitting the wall, and then eventually, when somebody gets to bathroom break, that's the only time I get to play with the court and with somebody hitting with me. So yun yung parang most of my time. And then so mas madalas is siguro I'm training the basics lang, steps lang, ganyan. And then eventually pagka na papalo-palo na-excite na-enjoy na. Ganun.
That's great, Coach. No, so again, great things start from small beginnings. Alam niyo yan. And of course, we know very well that these two are, badminton royalty nga, as I said, because it's 3 generations of champions in Asuncions, because you guys represented the country. Yun nga, as Simone has mentioned earlier, not just in the singles category, but also in the doubles category, making it to the 11th ranking globally. So quite a feat right there.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear all these stories on how you guys started, especially with Coach Nelson, of course, who I've growing up, I got to see him also in Valle Verde. No, he was the king of the badminton courts, up there. And then, of course, having to see Coach Kenny, and I still remember Coach Kennevic just roaming the halls, no, of the lanai and going down to the billiard area. So it's really it's fantastic to see them again after such a long time. But I'd like to point out a question or focus this question to Coach Kenny now. So in all the years being in the badminton scene, can you share with us a memory or a challenge that has made an impact in your family's sports journey?
Okay, so because we've been in badminton for, I can say, almost my entire life, we've been through many ups and downs. There's no particular scenario wherein parang I'd say that it really changed the entire but it's a continuation of things that would happen way back. At least for me, I'd be a consistent junior champion at that time, but I didn't get to represent the country. But what I liked about what my dad would teach us is never to put in hate, never to put in anger, but instead focus on making yourself better. He was very, very clear with that. And so until today, I would bring that and would, tell that to the next generation athletes or even to my kids. Never harbor any hate or anger, but focus on yourself. Once you keep making yourself better, it's a win-win situation. Whether you actually get to the goal you've targeted or not, you have become better in general, as a whole, as a person. So it's always a win-win situation when you focus on just, doing your best, focus on making yourself better.
I like what you said, Coach Kenny, and yeah, it's really true, no? That external factors shouldn't really affect you. May it be good. I mean, may it good or bad. It's really all about yourself and how you improve yourself, and it's only you who can actually say whether you are getting better. And hard work always pays off and always moves forward. So I think this is something that our viewers can actually take to heart. Just never let anything disrupt your progress. It's always how you want the career path or your path to be. It's all about you.
So what's very interesting about this family is that all of you were able to excel in badminton and make a name for yourselves. But of course, the foundation of that, I mean, is because Coach Nelson one day was invited to play, and one thing led to another. So it's serendipitous how you ended up in the world of badminton, and how that invitation from a friend to play the sport led to what Coach Nelson has achieved and built so far. And the fact that your children also found themselves involved in the sport and excelling, not just in the country but also abroad, especially in Asia, where you can find the powerhouses of the badminton world, and that's every parent coach's dream. So, Coach Nelson, how is it like raising these children and being a father and a coach to them?
Actually, I love badminton to play badminton, and then I didn't think of how this is going to happen like this. I just my kids want to play, and then I teach them how to play. So with that, parang I'm patient with them. I let them do whatever they like, and let them speak up whatever they want to say about the training or about the game, so that because sometimes this is my experience that if we are too strict to our player or our son or kids, sometimes they have problem. They don't want to talk. They don't want to say it. See, so let them have a free, free to talk, so that they can bring out their problem out, so that we can help them to solve the problem. So with that, parang sila parang na-enjoy din. See, so little by little, parang yun. May team na ako unti-unti sa Valley Verde, ganun. Then I start coaching, ganun.
How did it feel like to be coaching your kids? Yeah, how are they even as athletes, as your players?
Actually, yung sila Vic and Kenny, parang I don't have problem with them eh. Kasi it's already it's already mold na sa kanila. They love badminton. They love the game. Parang, so whenever I say something, nagfa-follow sila. So I want to also tell the parents that parang we just let them play, and then let them have the interest, and then we get into their heart, try to talk to them nicely, parang explain to them how to become a good player. So you have to do this, do that. So when you talk about those things, then they start to absorb those things, and then they try to be good. So they follow you. So that's why I always tell my kids or my player or that yung bang yung we should not parang stop yung player from talking, expressing what they want, because as we coaches, we are learning. We also learn from our players sometimes. So we have to listen to them. We do the program, they execute our program. So they are the one who's executed our program. If there is problem with that, they will tell you, and then we have to listen. See, so that we can modify a little, to change a little, to improve ourselves, and at the same time, the player will be free to talk. See, so it's like that. So yun.
Yeah, other than you, it being a parent coach's dream to have children who are very involved in the sport that you're coaching in. It's also an athlete's dream to have the kind of support that you've been giving to your children. And I love how you pointed out the importance of communication, and especially getting into their heart and really getting to know them, so that it would be easier for you to have that interaction with your children, especially as a coach. But I'm also curious, Coach Nelson, kasi is there a difference between you as a coach and you as a father?
I think wala. Parang I treat them parang the same when it comes to training. They have to do the same thing. The advantage of it is just sometimes we own our ways a car. I can still talk with them. Parang 24 hours eh. Parang ganun eh. But I don't always talk about badminton. I only talk about badminton when they ask me something. Then that's the time I answer them. But I let them parang sila na lang maghahanap. Kung may problema, they just ask me na lang. And then that's the time parang I talk to them, because I don't want them to feel na parang sobra naman ako parati, badminton lang, parang ganun. Parang wala na akong sasabihin kung hindi badminton. So, ganun. So, kung ibang topic pinag-usapan, okay, we talk about other things. Ganun. So, let them feel free na they can speak up and then not all the time badminton. And I don't punish them when they, let's say for example, pagka may tournament or may games, natalo sila. When we talk to them, we should not parang pinapagalitan na. We always tell them, do you know why, kung saan ka nakamali, bakit natatalo ka? From there, let them think, because so that they remember everything if they think what they are doing. See, and then from there you explain to them slowly, and then you always come up with something like, okay lang yan, we can do it next time, bawi natin next time. It's always like that, because if you pressure them too much, pagka tumagal, i-give up na yan. Too much pressure, ayaw na nila, they will stop playing na. So yun ang experience ko na.
So there's a sense of balance, it's not all badminton lang din. You talk about other things. And I think what's so great about that is also you're being mindful of processing all these different experiences and them coming to you and having that open communication and, really encouraging them to think. So Coach Kenny, Coach Vic, what was it like growing up in the Asuncion household and having your dad there, especially, and very curious because a lot of us athletes don't really have that kind of relationship with our parents and would rather have that separate, having a father separate from a coach. So, Coach Kenny.
Yeah, I'm very proud of our family setup, because I know that not everyone can actually do it. It's actually hard to separate being a parent and a coach. That's why I know most people wouldn't want to coach their own kids. But with my dad's case, and especially just listening to him again, I feel like he has a strategy. It's like when he says, sometimes you have to be strict. Sometimes you let them speak out. Sometimes this and that. It's a combination of things. You cannot just be strict and that's it and expect everything to follow. There's a balance of things. I guess too much of something is not always good. So he tries to balance it out, and I think he did a good job in instilling good discipline and everything that we've learned from him.
I feel like looking back, parati niya sinasabi sa amin, we always have to be above the other person before he can pick us. So looking back to that, it sounds so tough. Pero nung panahon na yon, hindi namin na-feel. Na-challenge kami, napipilitan kami mag-train harder. Parang yun yung feeling namin during that time eh. Pero pag pinapakinggan mo na, you feel like, oh, ang hirap nun na parang parati kailangan mas malakas ka sa isa bago kanyang pipiliin, parang hirap nun ganun. Pero when we were at that time, parang feeling namin, it's also a challenge, fun for us din na kailangan ganun yung feeling. Parang yun yung feeling namin. And at the same time, yung sinasabi nga ni Dad, he always talks to us whenever we're eating, we're driving home, we can still talk about badminton. And again, it doesn't feel like he's nagging us, because he always tells us in a nice way and then converse with us. So we feel like we're having a good conversation and then relax lang, chill lang, ganun lang.
Beyond the court, how is it like also for you? And how were the things that you learned being on the court translate to other things outside of it?
Well, I'm a firm believer na, sports in general really help mold or help make a person better, because you experience so many things in sports. You experience, of course, losing, how to also handle winning, because some people it gets to their head. So even when you win also, there's supposed to be a balance. So I think my dad was good at that. When we win in tournaments, he'd also tell us, oh, that's not bragging rights. It's never a bragging right. And if you win, that only means the challenge is more, because it's harder to maintain or to stay on top. So it really never got to our heads. And then when we lose in situations of defeat, he was very, very encouraging. So again, it's a balance of the situation. He was very good at it, and we're very lucky to have experienced that firsthand.
Is that something that you could see also how he's like with other athletes that he works with?
Well, I feel like he does the same thing. He does talk to them a lot also, and then encouraging them. It's just that our advantage is we have it in the house, that we get to talk to him even in the cars and everything. So I feel like that's why the players really loves him even after playing and everything. They still look for my dad and everything. So that's what we're trying to do also, to copy him, how to be like him, so that it's everything will be successful also, not just in the sport, because after the sport they still talk to my dad and still ask him how he is, ganyan. So yun yung masarap din yung feeling all the time, right?
Yeah, bidang bida. So I mean, what's so great so far from what you've shared, it really proves just what Coach Nelson even shared earlier. And it's so great that it's highlighted, how he has this complete control. This, alam niya talaga yung tamang timpla in terms of communicating with his athletes and even you as his children. And that's a very, it's not an easy thing to do because it requires a lot of time and mindfulness to really be there, to be present, and get to know all the different athletes he works with, and also you as children. And that, again, that open communication is very key to the kind of relationship that you guys have. So far there's so many values, there's so many characteristics that even I myself as a coach would like to be more mindful of. So I'm curious what Doc Shobes has to share so far from what she's heard from you. So Doc Shobes.
Very well said, no? Coming from both the perspective of a parent and a child. So I don't know. So during the past episodes, I hope everyone still remembers how I mentioned repeatedly the huge and critical role of responsive parenting is, right? So again, when we say responsive parenting, parents are actually aware of their children's emotional, physical, social needs, right? And these parents will respond appropriately and consistently. So again, with this type of parenting, na gusto natin is what we call the authoritative parenting, right? So there's really a balance between demandingness. When we say demandingness, the standards that they expect of their children are not compromised. At the same time, responsiveness, these parents will give time to mold their children. So just to reiterate, how Coach Nelson epitomizes the whole responsive parenting type is, for one, we can really tell, no, from his children's accounts how involved he is, no, in his children's lives. So talagang kita mo na interesado siya, and so this way, no, mas lalo talagang motivate yung mga kids. So another way na pinakita niya na very responsive siya is parang he rewarded the effort rather than the outcome. So in essence, ang message na sinasend sa atin ni Coach Nelson is parang he, showed respect when it came to the hard work of Coach Kennevic and Kennie. So parang, di ba, parang it's very, for kids, no, pag alam, parang kung napapraise yung effort nila, lalo silang mas namomotivate despite the outcomes kahit na nag-fail sila. Okay? So another thing that's very crucial, no, sa responsive parenting is yung, again, no, the open communication that Coach Nelson shared with his kids. So remember that listening to your kids will really tell our kids how much they are valued. So in a way, they will have like an idea what is expected of them and how to live up to this expectation. So likely, if they know that their parent listens to them, no, somehow experts would say yung feeling of security will be there and it will translate to more success emotionally, and sabi nila, like yan, physically in life.
That's great, Doc. No, so lots of things that I took note of in the entire first segment, right? So what I got really is, from Coach Nelson's perspective, there's really a lot of humility and openness there as both a coach and as a parent, right? So he mentions about exposing the kids, so Coach Kenny, Coach Vic, on and not forcing them with regard to their passions, and allowing them to be and to develop into their own person, and allowing them to figure things out on their own and provide support and encouragement along the way. So what I also noted here was that the approach to discipline is, quite unique, and I really like it. It's disciplining them not about who they are or not about the person, but it's about what they did or the action. So in badminton and in other things, and as what Doc Shob said, it's rewarding the effort, not the outcome. So lots of super relevant tips right there, and maybe I just want to dive a little bit deeper on the competitive portion of your careers, right? As players under your coach dad. So Coach Kenny, you mentioned that setting little targets and celebrating wins is a big part of your coaching philosophy. So where did you pick this up, and what was its impact growing up and competing as individuals and as a team with Coach Vic?
Well, kasi nga, my dad would instill in us to do, kumbaga, to set little goals. No goal is actually too small. You start that way before you actually get to the bigger goal. So you start as simple as kunyari, when you do physical training, when you run at the oval, you do your best. If you can still be one in the oval, then that would be good. But he also doesn't pressure us naman na grabe. So basta what he instills is, as long as it's your best, that will be enough. Okay? So in every little thing. And then you set little goals, as simple as, I want to be the first in my batch to qualify for something. So you start maliit eh. And then eventually we wanted to be the first Filipinos to qualify for the World Championships. So parang hindi naman yan on the first day yun na kaagad yung goal eh. We started with little goals sa age group muna namin, and then eventually we wanted to be people older than us. Little targets, even if it's just in training or sa tournaments. It didn't matter. Basta setting that small victories. And then eventually it just naturally happens that you get to your bigger goals.
That's great, Coach Kenny. So it speaks about the value or the concept of incremental gains, as well as the value of having perspective or seeing the end goal in mind. Coach Kenny, would you like to add to that? Coach Vic, would you like to add to that?
I feel like, yun nga sinasabi ni Coach Kenny na we started out kasi sa local first eh. That's what my dad always reminds us. Start with the locals. And then eventually, of course, after winning locals, syempre, bigger target is to make name in international. And it was really tough because there's a lot of good players around the world. So what he always tells us is focus on getting more points. So that's how we started, getting 1 point at a time. So eventually we get to the half, and then eventually you start thinking of getting more points, and then eventually you lean into the winning streak, and then that makes us the target goes up and up na. So parang dun kami nag-start na nagkaroon kami ng challenge sa international. Kasi if you think about it nga, sabi nga ni Kenny, you can't just go say, I'm gonna beat the world number one immediately, because it's really tough. So what happened is we really try to go higher sa ranking, try to go, every time we go to a tournament, we get more points lang muna, and then eventually, how about we pass first round lang muna, and then eventually, sige, second round naman ang target natin. Yung parang ganun, nagiging ganun siya. So that helped us get motivated as we go along, kasi nga nakikita namin yung gradual na improvement, parang ganun.
Super solid advice there. I think that speaks a lot about the importance of breaking down a complicated task into like more sizable or manageable chunks. But then of course later on, when you add these things up and consolidate them, it's actually quite a feat, no? Trying to achieve what you guys have achieved and you've gotten there. So yeah, great stuff so far. I wanna direct my next question to Coach Nelson. Kasi Coach Nelson, nabanggit mo kanina, nasabi mo na kanina the importance of getting into their heart, no? So parang what I read into that is like it's a combination of openness and building trust. Can you please tell us about this philosophy of yours of getting into their heart?
Actually, yung mga parents is a big role also. Kasi kailangan sila magsabi sa amin kung kung anong klase yung bata. Kung tipong masyadong mabait o medyo rough siya maggalaw or something. We have to understand the kids before we can apply our training program to that kids, no? So parang kailangan namin yung cooperation ng parents. So we always tell them na once you talk to them, especially malapit na sa tournament, don't pressure them too much. Just tell them, relax. This is just another day, another game. You have to play lang. Just play your best. Win or lose is not important. It's how you play your game. Bring out your game so that we will know what to improve kung natalo tayo. Diba? So that we can see pag hindi mo malaruin, labas mo yung game mo, hindi mo makikita yung weak point eh. Pag natalo ka, wala kasi you're too scared kaya natalo ka. Not because you don't have the skill, 'di ba? So you always ask them to play their game. Just bring out their game, all their best. See? Then tell them manalo, matalo, okay lang. Ganon. And then also we advise the parents when they cheer, wag masyadong wild mag-cheer. Yung medyo clap lang kung maganda. Yung ganun, wag yung parang against the opponent, saying something na hindi maganda, the more na-pressure yung player. So, tsaka isa pa, may ibang opponent, once nakita niya na sumisigaw ng nag-challenge siya eh. Gumaganda ang laro niya eh. So, we tell the parents na, just let them play. Parang ganun. Kasi may kalaban na, the more you yung parang ininsulto mo sila or parang hindi maganda ang pagkakaano, the more lumalakas sila. They want to prove something. Just play. Ganun lang. And then always parang always tell them to be parang wag masyadong yung kung out na talaga, don't complain na. Yung ganun, wag masyadong reklamo yung ganun. And then and most of the time yung after the game, panalo o talo. Pag panalo, we always tell them to say na, if someone asks you, you just tell them na parang, oh, he's good, my opponent is good. But it's just maybe I train harder this time. I prepared talaga. Kaya nanalo ako. Don't say something like parang, wala yan. Talagang matatalo yan. Or whatever. Kasi next time you meet them again, pressure na sa'yo kung hindi ka manalo. O pressure ka na kung nag-decision siya. See? O mas mataas ang points makukuha niya. See? So you always say in a nice way na tell the kids to explain to tell the people that talk to him or her na it's just I'm prepared this time. Parang mas prepared ako this time kaysa last time. So mas maganda ang game ko ngayon. So ganun lang, parang ganun. O I'm lucky, parang ganun lang. Huwag masyadong mayaman, parang walang pressure.
I got that, Coach. So parang that speaks about the importance of the values, right, and the right upbringing. And then just going back on the concept of getting into their heart. So it's really about being open in the communication process, not just with the players, but also even with the parents, so that there's an understanding of what has to be done. So parang the tip I got there was like, even before applying, your renowned system into the kids, what's important is the starting point of knowing who these kids really are as people. And the important thing also is bringing out the attitude, as you mentioned. So that good attitude, which, is the lifelong skill in the exercise, right? Because, the badminton skill, the capability will be useful and relevant until the playing career. But beyond that, really, it's really the values that you want to espouse in these kids, the good attitude, the effort that you want to espouse, and that's a lifelong skill right there.
So again, the value of sports in our everyday lives parang cannot really be overemphasized. So parang again, na-prove na naman nila Coach Nelson, Coach Kennevic, Coach Kenny, how sports taught them how to, somehow develop good character. So parang ang ang essence natin is sports was able to teach them how to cooperate with others, work together for a common goal, respond appropriately to victory and defeat, 'di ba? Tapos yan, dahil pang mga virtues like humility, no, and patience and perseverance. And again, no, gusto ko again i-emphasize yung giving more importance to the process rather than the result eh. So parang sport teaches you na mas importante talaga yon kasi if mas binalue mo yon, parang mas magiging successful ka. So, and it's also parang for me, for these athletes, parang it doesn't happen overnight. So parang pinakita ni Coach Nelson how to be intentional about it. So he modeled it. So parang, di ba, parents should really demonstrate through their words, actions, the value of sports in their lives para na-translate talaga to. So doon, nakita nila Coach Kenny, Coach Vic, how, kumbaga na-pass on, paano, how to listen graciously, humility and victory, diba? Tapos even then, yung advice nga ni coach ng mga parents nga, diba? Pag magiging, yung mga as cheerleaders, diba? So again, parang hinay-hinay rin lang. Okay, so yun. Again, no, character building talaga ang nakita kong gusto yung message sa atin ni Coach Nelson.
Thanks, Doc. And going back to what Coach Nelson said about parents having sort of like to have that restraint, no, especially when cheering or heckling. This is something, I guess, as parents also with kids, this is something that we fall short of. Sometimes you get carried away, and yeah, so I'm sure Robbie can attest to that as well. But I like it. I like that this is a learning for us and for the viewers that that we also play a role in the way the kid develops himself on the court, no? And I like also what they said about these little targets. I take it as like sort of like little tick boxes of what accomplishments that need to be achieved. Check here, okay, let's go next, diba? Before you head to the next level. And it's a very organized, and you can actually really monitor your progress and performance. So I really like that, no? So a lot of learnings, and I'm sure the viewers are picking up a lot of things as well. So now I will direct my question now in terms of sports now. So for Coach Nelson, I'll direct this question to you. Just what we've talked about with Sim and Robbie. What role, if you were to summarize in a nutshell, what role does sports play in your family as a parent and in raising your kids or your 3 kids?
Actually, yun sa through sports, parang it's easy for me to guide them, to discipline them, and then to let them become a better person, ganon. Because pag pumasok ka sa sports, parang doon ang gusto mo maging magaling ka sa sports, di ba? So you want everything na parang you're the best. So from there, parang unti-unti kakausapin mo siya how to become a champion. And you have to do this, you have to do that, so that kailangan may discipline ka. Like for example, if they want to go out, you will tell them na, okay, you come back, kasi during yung time nila, I will tell them, pinaka-late, 11 o'clock, uwi na kayo. Kasi the next day, may training tayo. So let them enjoy also. Hindi yung, hindi pwede. Parang very strict ka. So only Saturday or Sunday ka lang pwede lumabas. No, it's okay lang. You want to join party, to attend birthday party, something like that, okay lang. Parang ganun. So allow them to, But then, with sports, parang sila naman, ma-adapt nila yung gusto nilang gumaling. Kasi we should explain to them na, why is it you have to come home early? Kasi you have to have enough sleep. The next day you have training. Otherwise, minsan ma-disgrasya ka. Wala ka sa condition. Ma-injured ka. So once you injured, it will take months to recover. Or maybe weeks. So mawala ka sa training. So yung mga kasama mo, yung teammate mo, aakyat siya. Ikaw maiiwan. So with that, parang, ayaw nila yun, di ba? So from there, parang it's easy for me to guide them. And then And then kung natalo sila, you talk to them to encourage them to fight back. See? How to fight back. See? So yun, kailangan mo i-explain ganun. Pag panalo, parang you tell them, huwag masyado mayabang. Don't say yung mga mayabang na words kasi next time, there is so much tournament you're going to come across playing with that guy or that person. And then, if one day natalo ka, hindi kakainin mo na yung sinabi mo, di ba? So explain to them na it's going to be like this. So better say in a nice way. Yun na nga, kanina yung sinabi ko, I train hard because I prepared talaga. Kaya nanalo ako. He's also good. See? So I always tell them na, if you will say something like, hindi, talagang kahit gising mo ako kahit anong oras gising mo ako, laruin ko siya, mananalo ako. So ibig sabihin, hindi magaling yung tinalo mo. See? The better nga, yung sinabi mo magaling yung kalaban mo at nanalo ka, mas magaling ka sa kanya, di ba? So parang doon i-explain mo sa kanila, doon sa mindset nila, na alam nila kung paano magsasalita. Yun bang, so in short, parang guide mo sila na how to talk properly, wag masyadong mayabang, stay low lang, parang yung wag masyadong parang lumilipat na tayo, ganun.
Thanks, Coach. I like what you said. No, it's really, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a testament that a father can be a coach and a father at the same time. With Coach Nelson and with his kids, and the way he approached things. No, it's really more of guiding them, laying out the paths for them, and for each of them to be responsible for their own decisions. No. And for them to determine which is wrong, which is right, because it will only take themselves or us as athletes to create, again, like what I said, to create our own path. No, it's up to us on how disciplined we are or how passionate or committed we are, to our own cause. No? So thanks, Coach Nelson, for this one. I'd like to direct the question out to Coach Kenny and Coach Vic. No? Coach Kenny, I'll start with you. So what is your advice now as you are a parent as well? What is your advice to other parents in encouraging their kids on pursuing their dreams?
Well, we have to be supportive in the right way. Yun nga, as mentioned earlier, we support them kasi each kid is different. And I'm speaking not just for sports. It can be something they're passionate about. It could be art. It could be something. Encourage them to be good at something. When they want to be good at something, they put their minds, they put their hearts into it. And by doing so, you experience all the ups and downs of it, and it teaches you a lot of lessons in life. So, kung baga, parang help your kids look for something they can be passionate about, and then dream with them, cry with them, laugh with them, para worth it yung journey. Whether they succeed or not, it will be worth it kasi that's a bond that you create as a family. So, again, it's a win-win situation, whatever happens. You're there to guide them, so may bonding kayo. When they succeed, ang sarap ng feeling. You were with them all throughout. Ngayon, kung hindi, they will be successful at something else. Kasi given the right values and the right things that you will be able to teach them, even if, let's say, akala nila they wanted this, and then suddenly they shift to another, but nandyan na mabibuild in yung, kumbaga, everything to make something successful.
It's great. So it's really not really force feeding that what they need to do or what the sport that they need to get into. Let them discover for themselves. No pressure. If they like it, then good. And then we support. If they don't, then they can always find something else, and you'll always be there to support. How about you, Coach Vic?
I believe from my experience, it's more of we can do studies and sports together. As young, kasi for my experience when I was younger, I'm a competitive kasi as a player. So I always share that I'm competitive. I like the challenge. And then so before we used to train in China, and then we have our age group. Syempre, nakalaro mo sila. And then eventually after summer, we have to go back to the Philippines, study again, and then come back the next year. And then eventually you'll feel parang nakukulang na ako, nahihirapan na ako sa kanila, parang gano'n. And then eventually at that time, I think I talked to my dad and I said, can you just leave me here and then just come back for me after whenever I train better and everything already. And then he explained to me that studies are very important din. Na tapusin mo muna yung school mo before ka mag-try ituloy-tuloy yung sport. So you can do balance both. We'll still try to come here every summer, catch up as close as you can. Eventually, after you graduate, you can go all out of whatever you want to do. So I feel like in that way, kasi you have two things na pwede kang maging successful eh. Parang pwede sa sports, pwede din sa school. So nakatulong siya overall as a person. Parang feeling ko complete package kami. Parang nakakatulong siya sa amin na parang pwede ka dito sa kabila, pwede dito sa kabila. Parang ganun yung feeling. So for me, that's very important na ituro niya sa amin, na i-share niya talaga sa amin.
That's great. No, it's just really more of, being the total package, right? Having an education, and of course having the life of an athlete, no? And of course, our coaches used to tell us as well that you have to balance both, and you cannot live without one without the other. Yeah, so I always remember that. So yeah, it's a really good advice. Balance, and there's always prioritize it. So okay, thanks, Coach Vic. So my last question, I think Coach Kenny can answer this, is what legacy do you want, with the whole Asuncion badminton brand moving forward?
Well, badminton has been really good to our family. We've, along the way, we've learned so many life lessons. We've met so many people. So in return, we want to give that back to the next generation badminton athletes. We want to do our share, our part to help them reach for their goals, whatever it may be. Kasi iba-iba naman yan per athlete. It could be just a simple school tournament. It could just be being the best in their varsity team, or maybe progress to a UAAP, NCAA, or maybe progress to an international victory. So we want to give back by helping the next generation athletes. So in whatever way we can, we will do it.
Really more of just leaving a legacy, right? The legacy of what Coach Nelson has shared or has instilled with you, Coach Kenny and Coach Vic, and continuing to share those accomplishments or what you've learned with others. No? So I think that's the best lesson there, especially with the whole Asuncion badminton brand. Doc, your thoughts?
Right. So thank you, Rel. So actually, it's so nice because actually this is the first among all our guests, who have parents who served as coaches. I mean, both parent and coach, diba? So all I can say or really conclude that, the Asuncions were able to maximize the benefits and advantages of what we call parental coaching. So both a parent and a coach, no? As a matter of fact, experts have actually identified a number of advantage if a parent also serves as a coach to his own child, right? So again, number one is na-mention to clearly ni Coach Nelson that he knew his kids better than anyone else. So what he did was he kind of adjusted his style depending on their needs. I like the fact that he mentioned that he still allowed them, even if they were in training, he wasn't so strict. There were leeways for their social life, right? So as long as they need to face the consequences, right? So he gave them liberty. At the same time, he was able to deal with because he knew again his children way better than anyone else. So he was able to deal with their temperament. He was able to find the right balance on how to coach his kid, right? So again, we cannot overemphasize the quality time that he spent together with both Coach Kenny, Vic, and Kenny. And then another added value would be, I like that, again, if you're a coach and a parent, your experiences and memories that you could actually share with them is also an added value, right? So parang like Coach Kenny was saying, so dream together, right? So then again, he made it feel, Coach Nelson actually made it feel that he was the support and involvement that he had with his kids was really there. And again, studies would show that when there's parental support, parental involvement, the it's a better predictor for participation and enjoyment and success. And now we can see that the two coaches, Coach Kennevic and this time Kenny, they are like giving back na. So kumbaga parang what they have learned from Coach Nelson, they're actually giving back to the community na. Right. So, galing. Kudos to the Asuncions.
Yeah, I super agree. There's so much we can learn from them. So, Coach Nelson, Coach Kenny, Coach Vic, we've learned so much from what you've shared with us today. And if you were to summarize, what can we learn from your journey so far on how to raise a champion?
I would encourage, parents to expose their kids to different, different sports or different things that they can be passionate about. That's one thing I've noticed because even when I talk to players from other countries, especially the European countries, most of them, their parents also play badminton. So sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that the parent has to be good at it for the child to succeed, but it's just exposing them to something they could be passionate about. So I'd like to emphasize on that. Expose them to as many sports until they find what suits them.
For me, that sports help us in all in life. Parang it's not just the sport lang naman. Even if you don't go too far in the sport, it will help you in your life journey. Na you will be more disciplined. You'll be able to do time management and everything that helps you in your work or in your family. Makatulong siya parate. So the sport really will help us mold as a better person. So yun yung feeling namin.
Having said that, parang ang sa akin is that just to tell the player and the kids dito sa atin na there is nothing impossible. So for example, just like a baby, when they start to eat, gusto nila magkakain sila sa sarili nila. Di ba they always use their spoon and then kung saan-saan tumatama, hindi na shoot. See? But after few months, you can see umi-improve na. See? Pumapasok na. Even without seeing yung mouth niya. So it's really walang impossible. Things that you cannot see, you can still hit the target. After the long parang training, see, nakukuha niya. So, what more in our training? Ang kailangan dito is yung gutom. See, you like it, sincere with it, and do your best. That's why I always say, dream your dream, do your best, never doubt, never rest until that dream is yours. Yun lang.
Beautifully said. So there you have it, the Asuncion's top lessons on how to raise a champion. So allow me to add to that and recap also what we've gotten from what you've shared with us today. So first is get into their heart. The Asuncions emphasized the importance of having open communication and finding that right balance to encourage and a challenge based on what works for the child. And number two, the Asuncion shared the importance of setting goals and to process what it means to reach or fall short of those goals. And number three, get your kids into sports because sports is a good training ground to prepare themselves for different challenges and is a great environment to learn and practice good values and habits. Now it's time for our next segment that we call Crunch Time. So, all right, Coach Kenny and Coach Vic and Coach Nelson, we're going to throw you some questions and you're going to have to answer them as fast as you can. So there's no need to explain unless we can't help but ask. So are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Okay, let's start. In terms of answering, let's start with Coach Nelson and then Coach Kenny and then Coach Vic. All right. So first question is, what is your hidden talent?
Patient.
if it's considered a talent, my appetite, like I'm, these days, put me back in a buffet and I'll fight it out.
For me, I hardworking. I think I could do anything. You can give me anything, I would still work for it and then try to do harder.
Okay, this one's easy. Just your favorite food.
Barbecue.
Curry.
Katsudon.
Okay, next. Favorite sports icon.
For me, Michael Jordan.
Mine is Susi Susanti of Indonesia.
Mine sa men's naman. Si Lindan.
Lindan.
Of course, those two are badminton players, right? Coach Kenny, Coach Nelson. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Most memorable sports experience.
Oh, for me, it's when we held the Asia versus Europe here in Manila. That's the most memorable one for me because I've never seen Ultra so packed for a badminton. So that was like the best for me.
For me, the same too, because that's the only experience that we had that a lot of people are cheering for us. Most of the time, it's against us.
Actually, me, the same din. That one, that MVP Cup.
Yeah.
Kasi my dream is to see yung badminton full. See? Kasi usually badminton, pag may tournament, it's always the parents, the direct na players na nandyan lang, a few lang, parang yun. But then, during the MVP Cup, it's really full. And then, gumagawa silang ng wave. See? It's really, parang nakakataas ng... Yes.
All right. Next question. What's your favorite sports film?
Little Mo. I don't know if you watched that. Yung isang little girl playing tennis from nothing. Parang yung kahoy lang ang ginagamit niya pang sa walling. And then little by little, nagiging champion.
I forgot the title of the movie, but I saw this movie where this, I think, Jamaican guy got into a sport, pero it's for the parang winter sport.
Cool running.
Cool runnings.
Yes.
Feel the rhythm.
Parang wala eh. Wala yata eh. Documentaries lang kasi pinapanood ko eh. So, not really sports film. Yeah, so.
Okay. Sige, so let's proceed to the next question. End goals or process goals more important to you?
What's more important, the end goal or the process goal? I think for me, it's the process.
I think it's the process. You get to help all the students to be better at it. And then slowly, whatever the end, it can be.
I think maybe we are in one family, so we all think the
Same
same.
answer.
Okay, next. Hobbies in life apart from sports.
Ako, I hang out with my friends. When there's a group of friends na parati kong pinupuntahan, parang I want to be with them when not in sports, parang hanging out. Parang relax lang, parang away from the sport itself.
Ako rin, it's not a hobby, but hanging out with friends, shopping with them,
Eating.
spending time with them. People that matter, not just friends, but spending time with people that matter.
Me naman, it's after we put up the Asuncion Badminton Center, yung start ng Badminton Center, I like plants. Yeah, yung green things.
The plant lolo.
Plantito.
Plant
Lolo.
He loves plants.
Kaya yung center namin, sa loob ng building namin, may tree, malaking tree. Parang ginawa namin, give way to yung tree na ma-expand yung branches niya. So, yun.
I like that. Sobrang up-to-date ni Coach Nelson. So ito, alternative career.
That's so hard. I've never really seen myself.
Ako, siguro businessman, putting up a store and selling stuff. I think that would be.
Ako yata, I'd probably be a teacher. So medyo nasa ano pa rin ang coaching.
Me naman, wala eh. Talagang, since I was a kid, talagang badminton eh. Hindi ko maisip na iba na ang magugustuhan ko. I enjoy watching other sports, but then, pero hindi ko makatulad na parang ganun ka, parang hands-on. So, na parang buong buhay ko, parang tinaya ko na doon. So, 52 years in badminton.
All right. Okay, just to wrap up crunch time, our last question is, what is your family motto?
I think what my dad said kanina, his parting words, talagang I think in all generations yata, it's to dream your dream, do your best, never doubt, never rest until that dream is yours. I mean, we could be sleeping and we could be saying it, so it's really...
I really love it. I want to remember and memorize it and be part of the Asuncion family. But all right, crunch time is done. Thank you so much, Coach Nelson, Coach Kenny, Coach Vic, for sharing your experience and time with us and for being super game to answer your questions today. So, and now we've come to the end of the episode for our final messages. So Doc Shobes, Relly, and Robbie, let's share with our teammates what we have in store for them for our next episodes.
Right. So thank you again to the Asuncions. I had so much fun learning in the advantages of being a coach at the same time a parent. So again, just to remind everyone, we are having a webinar entitled Quarantine, Working Together Through Times of Crisis and Beyond. So we look forward to having parents as our viewers to get to know what are the ways on how to develop our children during the times of pandemic. See you there.
Thanks, Doc. So there you have it, folks. On behalf of the Gold Diggers, I would like to thank you and, of course, the Asuncions for joining us tonight. Please do share your thoughts with us on our Facebook page and tag the Gold Diggers PH. Or you can post or comment on our video uploads on Facebook and YouTube. We'd really love to hear from you guys. Again, our FB page is the Gold Diggers PH. If you haven't liked or followed us, click that button and continue to dig with us. This ends our first season of Raising a Champion. Hope you all enjoyed and learned something from all this. In the meantime, catch up on all our past episodes on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify channels. Thanks again and see you guys next season. Robbie?
Thank you, Relly. It's always a pleasure to catch up with this wonderful champion family. And there's, lots of great tips and examples shared here tonight by Coach Nelson, Coach Kenny, and Coach Vic. And, we really see the passion that you have for not just badminton, but especially for parenting and most especially for each other. Your mutual sports-filled and life and parenting journey so far is one to emulate. And we thank you so much for the time, the wisdom, and the experience that you shared with us and the rest of our listeners. And thanks to, families like you, there's a lot that we can learn from sports, especially in Raising a Champion. So thank you very much. Teammates, please check out our inaugural Sports Events Essentials episodes that we've posted on our social media pages, which is part of our ambitious mission of helping uplift and progress Philippine sports by providing training and support through the Gold Diggers' podcasts. And coming soon, our soon-to-launch learning series. So please check out our Facebook page for more details on our Sports Events Essentials virtual learning sessions and see how you can participate in that program. Lastly, once again, let's continue the fundraising for our advocacy, Pitch in PH, and let's continue helping out our fellow Filipinos who are in most need. Please follow our Facebook page for more details on how you too can learn how to pitch in for PH. Finally, over to our guests for this evening, Coach Nelson, Kenny, and Coach Vic Asuncion. Your final message for this episode, please.
My advice to the parents would be to get your kids into something they can be passionate about. Of course, like for me, I'd encourage that you put them into sports, but it can also be arts and other things that interests them. You know, go and experience everything possible with them, have fun with them, enjoy it with them. And of course, I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage everyone to go into my YouTube channel, Badminton Coach Kenny. Who knows, your kid might be interested in badminton, and that might be the start of it.
There is no end in learning. For those who already achieve a lot of trophies or whatever achievement, just remember there's no end in learning. Once you stop, then everything stops. So we learn every day. And just remember that if there's a will, there's a way.
Again, just a friendly reminder to all the parents. You can always bring your kids to the sport or enjoy with them so that you'll have an experience. Who knows? They might be the future Olympic champions.
So if you'd like to check out more of the Asuncions content, we're going to share their link below. So check that out. And we hope you enjoyed this episode with the Asuncions on how to raise a champion. And that ends our session for today. Catch you next time on the Goal Diggers. Remember to dream, dig in, and win. See you and take care.